Good morning. I want to know what the summer project should be. What I should be working on. I'm wrapping up some customer work, and I should have more opportunity to bring some of these keyboard projects to the front burner. Because I find that when I get other work done, these they're not really nagging tasks, but tasks that were just kind of hanging out, they pop up to the front, and I'm like, I should work on that thing right now. And I start working on it suddenly and unexpectedly. I did find a maker who seems to have a similar production process as I do, I think. I'll link his video about the creative process in the description. But he basically has lets his subconscious figure a lot of stuff out, and then gives it room to figure those things out. And if you don't give it room, then it's just stymied and it can't figure out how to do things. And it's just frustrating because you're like, I need to make this thing, and I know I can make it, but it's not working. And it includes one of the things that I'm loath to admit. It's downtime. And I'm sure if you go back through the vlags. If you go back through the vlags, I've talked about downtime before, because the downtime is important, and it's something that I was embarrassed is not it's like ashamed almost. Like I don't know if you've noticed, I have an unhealthy relationship with work, and this is becoming obvious. It has become obvious over the last few years, and I try to balance that, and I don't always do the best job at it. But being aware of it is part of the problem, and being able to address it then. Plus, my wife calls me on all that stuff, which is good. You gotta have someone who can back you up. There's work, downtime. Yeah, downtime. Downtime where you don't appear to be doing anything. And this, I don't know if this counts as boring time, or, being bored is extremely useful. But like being distracted too is also useful. Doing, playing video games, something like that, where your brain is like a muscle, and if you if you use it too much, you get a cramp, and then nothing works, and it's very frustrating and painful almost. And then you just need to relax a little bit so that the cramp unworks and the blood starts flowing again, and you can start continuing what you're working on. Yeah. So I'll link that video in the description. He also, the way I found him was, there was a cyber deck that he made that it is very well laid out, and he introduced me to a wearable thing I hadn't seen before, and I'm like, I don't know, man, I'm carrying around a tiny pocket computer that I designed, and like I'm like this close to having an eyepiece wearable thing, something that I would pop on and use for a bit and then take off. I just want to have access to this extension of my brain where I've got all this data saved up, the bits and pieces. Something as simple as like, we're at music practice last night, and I pull up the lyrics on my phone, and the lyrics are off, and they vary from site to site, and even some lyrics are hard to find unless you know who the musician is. So it's like, oh, I found this lyrics, and that's not it. Which one is the other one? And I'm like searching through search terms, and these are some of the songs we've done before, and I had already found them. So it's like, why am I not finding them? Do I need to bookmark these? And then we do some tweaks to the songs sometimes, So it's like, okay, well, I should just have my own lyrics database and just keep adding to it. So how do I access that lyrics database? You know? And it needs to be quick to search through and kind of flip through, and easy to access with ideally just your fingers. And I'm probably going to wind up building a little, not a database, but just like a little helper app in Emacs, and then running it on Tmux on my phone, because then I can get the fast editing of it, and then I can pull it up pretty easily. And it'll be local on the phone, so I don't need to have internet access just to be able to get that. It would be more ideal to have it on. It might make more sense to have it on Dropbox or a shared file system. Yes, I am still using Dropbox. I've been somewhat replacing it with SSHFS at home, and having it on the Dropbox on my cloud server is kind of necessary, I think. Then having it on my phone, and then I think I have it one other place. I have it on one of my laptops. Yeah, and that might make more sense to have it on my tower at home, and then have the laptop just be SSHFS. I don't know if there's an SSHFS for the phone, but being able to, I don't know, you're not syncing files, but you are almost transparently accessing them through SSH. So you basically have a link there. Obviously, it works better when you have local files that are local. And I've run into a few weird slowdowns. Like, basically, since SSHFS functions as an extension of the file system, there's no expectation that there will be any kind of latency, and that if you're accessing a portion of the local disk, and the local disk has some problems or some delays, like, you got bigger fish to fry than the software recovering from that error. So I have locked up Emacs a few times trying to connect to that when the connection gets slow, which has been a rare occasion, but still annoying when it happens. Right, so summer project. As far as keyboards go, I've been wanting to get one of those 1280 by 480 screens. Just because it's a better form factor for what would essentially be a palm top. But these keyboards are like, I've either got a thumb keyboard like on Vexus, or I've got a full-size keyboard, or a half-size keyboard that you can kind of type on. And I would rather have one that you can kind of type on. I don't know. I just want something that's light and full-size. I've got like grid layout 40% keyboards that will support the extra Bluetooth modules I've got around. Oh yeah, I did want to make to work on that. That's good. I have an adapter board for an ESP32 project board that could go on. Oh, that's interesting. I have one of these Heltec ESP32s that I broke the screen on, which makes it useless for Vexus, but can probably still be used for being a Bluetooth adapter for Signum, because it still charges a battery, and as far as I understand, it still communicates. I'll have to double check, but I've got a bunch of those in various states of disrepair or damage. There's one of them that all it does is charge batteries. It's still useful, I guess. So I already have the adapter board for that. I'll have to double check that that's a good layout. But adding Bluetooth by just changing out what board gets attached to the Signum is pretty good. I was never really impressed with the Bluetooth firmware, but I'm a lot better at writing keyboard code at this point now, so I'll probably be able to do better at that. I don't know, I worry about writing my own firmware that isn't quite high speed enough, because I am at top speed. I do actually manage to hit a lot. We have the 10 keyless model of our keyboard has like when we were working on it, we had a prototype version of it that I was typing on, because I'm a pretty fast, me and another person at the office are good keyboard testers because we're very fast, and I was typing on it, and I was managing to get the key ghosting scenario, which means during, like, not trying, I was just writing an email, writing in prose, and I got the ghosting scenario, and it would short across F1, so I would get an F1 while I was typing. It's like, oh, that's weird, and I figured out that I was pressing 3 keys down at the same time during normal typing process. So it's just like writing an email, and I've got 3. I'm slurring enough keys that I've got 3 down at the same time that it registers an extra key. Like, okay, that's kind of fast, and no one else had run into that problem, and even some of the people we had testing it that were fast typists, they hadn't experienced the problem. So that's kind of a thing. But I know that if I make something and it's not high speed enough, that I'm going to have problems with it, even if other people might not have problems with it. But it's still useful, and I've got female header pins on my signum, so I can just swap out the controller and put it back to a teensy. So there's probably a better way to lay that out, but I should spend some time working on that. So Bluetooth signum, trying to get hot swap Milmax, I forget what they're called, sockets installed, so that you can swap switches around, which I still don't know if it will work, but I have to try it. I can't just imagine it's not going to work, but I do imagine it's not going to work. I'm just letting you know. Because the switch is PCB mounted, they kind of rely on the solder points for keeping them in place, at least partially. And I mean, it doesn't have a plate because you can put the switches in multiple locations, so you can't build a plate for it. But if I could get those sockets working, then you could try a location and see how you like it, and then pop them out and put them in another location and see if you like that. You know, you could just kind of move it around. You can even move it around a year later. My question is just whether or not the switches are going to stay on. That's my concern. Although, so on cherry switches, the retention pin that holds them is on the left and right side. So if I were to make slots for the plate at 1.5 millimeter thickness, then the switches would snap into place. They still might tilt forward or back, though. That's kind of the problem. Might be better than nothing, though. So there's that. But the Milmax things just kind of, they fit right into the existing hole, or the hole that's available for the switch. It would have to be an MX style only, though. I didn't think about that. I'll have to double check that. But that would still be useful. I don't think there's a lot of people using Alps nowadays, and that might be just a separate option to purchase on your Signum if you want Alps or if you want hot swaps. Unfortunately, the KL hot swaps are not they're not small enough that they can fit next to each other. Otherwise I would. But doing a basic Signum layout with, somewhat aligned columns or even doing a full grid style where they're all horizontal, right next to each other, and then making that board, that version of the board with with the hot swap sockets would be pretty cool. And then you can get a square board with a angle and your thumb paddles. That's a good idea. I don't know. Let me know what call to action you would like in the description, and make sure to increase my engagement by liking the video and subscribing and downloading the video, and then sharing it on social media, and then sending smoke signals about my video. Just do a closed captioning, just close smoke signal my entire words in this video.